Columbia, Houston, we need the sex arm circuit breakers closed.
Okay, going in, sex arm bat A and bat B.
Columbia, Houston, logic looks good. You can arm your pyros at your convenience.
Thank you. Eagle Columbia starting to maneuver to TPIS.
Okay. This is Apollo Control, about 6.5 minutes to ignition on the terminal phase maneuver, in which the crew of Eagle will thrust along the line of sight toward Columbia. Distance now between the two spacecraft, some 38.6 nautical miles, closing at a rate of 110 feet per second. All your solutions look good to us. Out. Mike, if you want our target Delta V, I'll give it to you.
Ready, copy.
127.03, 3082. 20 plus 22.7 plus 1.7 minus 10.6. Over.
127.03, 3082 plus 22.7 plus 1.7 minus 10.6. Thank you.
I'm showing a good bit out of plane velocity on my cross pointers, Mike.
Right, I have no indication of it. Coming up on 1 minute to take, Neil. How's it looking?
Pretty good.
Good.
That out of plane was in the X, not in the radar.
Roger that.
We're burning.
Attaboy. Burn complete.
Read. Burn complete.
Roger, thank you.
Eagle Houston, half Omni, low bit rate, and we'll see you at 127 plus 5-1. This is Apollo Control. We've apparently had loss of signal with Columbia and Eagle as they went behind the moon on the 26th revolution. Next maneuver scheduled for about 33 minutes from now, while both vehicles are behind the moon. This will be the braking series of maneuvers, coming down to docking, or station keeping first, and then docking at about 128 hours, ground elapsed time. And at 127 hours, 6 minutes, ground elapsed time, and the flight of Apollo 11. This is Mission Control. This is Apollo Control. 127 hours, 50 minutes, ground elapsed time. Less than a minute now away from acquisition of the spacecraft Columbia. Hopefully flying within a few feet of it will be Eagle. Docking should take place about 10 minutes from now, according to the flight plan. However, this is a crew option matter. We're standing by for word that data is coming in from the two spacecraft. This is lunar revolution number 27 for Columbia. I have LEM AOS.
Roger. Okay, Mike. I'll try to get position here, and then you got it. How does the roll attitude look? I've stopped. Matter of fact, I can stop right here if you like that.
Eagle Houston, middle gimbal, and you might pass to Columbia. We don't have him yet.
That's right. I'm not going to do a thing, Mike. I'm just letting her hold and attitude hold. Okay. Houston, Apollo 11, over.
Apollo 11, Houston, go.
Roger, I'm supposed to adjust the oxygen flow in this thing to 0.6 of a pound per hour, but being as how this transducer is not working right, can you give me an updated number?
Affirmative. You want to go ahead and adjust your O2 flow until it just goes off the peg. And then crank the direct O2 valve back down about 5 degrees. Over.
Well, you're really waiting for that one, aren't you? Okay, Ron, thank you. Houston, I did that, and I believe we are flowing oxygen, but the gauge is just peg full-scale low.
Roger, that's fine. That's what we expect.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead with a tunnel leak check.
Columbia, Houston, I have a new LEM wait for you whenever you're ready to copy.
Not right now, Ron. Remind me of it later. Which, please?
Roger, we'll stand by.
Houston, Apollo 11. I let P-47 run longer than I should. I may have deteriorated our state vector slightly.
Roger, Apollo 11. That's okay. We'll get it later. This is Apollo Control. Communications are somewhat scratchy with Apollo 11. Columbia and Eagle now reunited to become Apollo 11. Again, our best estimate on the time of docking was some 3 minutes after the pre-mission time of 128 hours. Continuing to monitor this 27th lunar orbit, where the two-way communications between the two spacecraft.
Go ahead with your tap load, please.
Roger, your LEM weight, 5785. For an R1, we'd like to have 61102. R2, 01111. Use BD roll. Over.
Roger, I'm configured now with 10 lead for BD roll, and I have thrusters C4 and B3 turned off, and I copy register 1, 61102, 01111, and LEM weight 5785. Thank you.
Roger, Columbia.
Houston, Columbia has completed the leak check. I'm proceeding with Columbia, I understand you're doing a leak check. Missed anything after that? The leak check is complete, and I'm proceeding with opening the hatch dump valve. Eagle, or Columbia, roger. Columbia. Go ahead. My hatch is removed. You can open yours and I'll start passing stuff up to you. Okay. Well, stand by one first. Okay.
This is Apollo Control. Still rather noisy communications here on the 27th lunar revolution. 39 minutes remaining until Apollo 11 goes behind the moon. We'll leave the circuit up and try to monitor the conversation between the two spacecraft, or between Apollo 11 and the ground, for the remainder of this pass. Try to ascertain the status on board as far as transferring the crew and other items back into the command module. The cleanup in the limb, getting all the items dusted off prior to bringing them back into the command module. At 128 hours, 25 minutes ground elapsed time and standing by, this is Apollo Control.
Mike, you still there? Yeah, everything's going fine. Be with you just a sec. Eagle, Houston, over. Go ahead, Houston, Eagle here. Roger, anytime prior to jettison there, we'd like an AGS to things align, 400 plus 30,000. Over. Okay. Any particular attitude you'd like to things in when you do that? What I'm getting at is, could you give us some course-aligned gimbal angles to move the pigs to, and then we'll align the AGS to the pigs, over. Roger, Eagle, we concur, stand by on the gimbal angles. And also, Eagle, while we've got the command module Direct 02 on there, there's a possibility that your cabin relief might relieve if we get on up around cabin pressure of about 5.4 or 5.5. Roger. Eagle, Houston. Roger, go ahead. Roger, all we're trying to do is get things and AGS aligned together. Doesn't make any difference on the gimbal angle. Would you know? Okay, we're pretty close to 000. Is that all right?
Eagle, that's beautiful.
Now you might want to take into account what will happen when the CSM maneuvers to jettison attitude.
Eagle, Houston, we don't care what all we're trying to do is get a drift later, see how long it takes them to drift apart on the thing after you jettison.
Okay, will we be jettisoning at about this attitude? That's okay, I'll align the ags to the thing. You can tell me a little later if you need something else.
Eagle, Houston, that's fine.
Houston, Columbia, you want me to roll over and get high gain or anything like that?
Columbia, Houston, I can give you some react angles for the high gain on the limb jettison attitude, and you can go there whenever you want to. The angles are pitch minus 50 and yaw 0.
Houston, Columbia, say the jettison roll pitch and yaw, please.
Columbia, Houston, roll 0, pitch 025, and yaw 0. Over.
Roger, understand, roll 0, pitch 025, yaw 0.
Affirmative.
Maneuver in progress, we're moving, Eagle.
Houston, Eagle. Over. Eagle, Houston, go.
Roger, it doesn't appear as though the red hose is going to be much of a competitor to the leading vacuum cleaner brands. Over.
There's a little noise there, Buzz, there again. Eagle, Houston.
Roger, go ahead.
Roger, just a reminder to be sure and zero the AGS errors before you enable AGS attitude hold there, after you get burn attitude.
Roger, mean step attitude. Houston, how do you read Columbia on NIG now?
Hey, Columbia, Houston, mighty fine, loud and clear.
Yeah, same here, Ron, thanks.
And Eagle, Houston, your steerable antenna angle for jettison attitude R. Over.
Roger, go ahead.
Roger, pitch 165, yaw 68. Over.
Roger, pitch 165, yaw 68.
Eagle, Houston, correct. Columbia, Houston.
Columbia, go ahead.
Roger, Mike, you want to tweak the O2 flow up just a bit there.
Okay, coming up. Houston, do you have any preferences as to what you want us to do with the probe, over?
Columbia, Houston, stand by one.
Okay, Eagle says they've got a place for it inside there, so no problem.
Roger, that's all we were assuming. Eagle, Houston.
Eagle, go ahead.
Roger, Neil, looks like your steerable is good. You can put your track mode to slew and high bit rate, please, over.
Okay, track mode to slew and high bit rate. Okay, stand by just one, please. Okay, shoot him on down.
Eagle, Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Roger, Neil. Just a reminder again, ACA out of detent to zero the Ags there, just in case you go to attitude hold shortly.
Okay. So you want to probe now?
Eagle, Houston.
Houston, Eagle, go ahead.
Roger, that ACA out of detent didn't quite do it because the mode control switches are off. Request guidance control to pings and then back to Ags. And that'll zero the Ags errors. Over.
Say again, please.
Roger, request guidance control switch to pings and then back to Ags. Over.
Okay, we still have both mode control switches off. Over.
That's okay. That's good.
And I thought I'd just take about 5 seconds here and see if I could get 000 gone. Since we're fairly close to gimbal lock right now.
Eagle, Houston, that's fine. This is Apollo Control. Some 6 minutes, 40 seconds remaining until Apollo 11 goes behind the moon on the 27th revolution. The signal from the passive seismometer, which was left on the moon by the crew of Eagle, was lost for 30 minutes, beginning about 5 minutes before Eagle took off this morning. The signal was lost because of a equipment problem at the Canary Island tracking station. The seismic equipment is back online now and is beginning to record lunar day surface temperatures. The dust detector recorded 0 dust after Eagle liftoff. The laser ground stations have not yet acquired a return signal from the laser ranging retroreflector. We're 5 minutes away from loss of signal with Apollo 11. We'll continue to monitor the air ground as the spacecraft goes over the hill. The crew now is engaged in the decontamination procedures inside the lunar module prior to transferring back into the command module.
In about 5 minutes to LOS. Your LEM jet time will be 131 plus 52, and I have the rest of the maneuver pad if you want it now, or I can give it to you on the next time around. Standby one. Would you read it around the next time around, please? Sure, Mike, that's fine. We'll get it to you then. Apollo 11, Houston, about a minute and a half to LOS. You're looking great. It's been a mighty fine day. Boy, you're not kidding.
This is Apollo Control. We've had loss of signal as Apollo 11 went around the backside of the moon on the 27th rev. We'll have acquisition with Apollo 11 approximately 45 minutes from now at, let's see, would you believe they don't have the next tables up for the next rev? At any rate, 45 minutes from now. And at 129 hours, 4 minutes. Ground elapsed time, this is Apollo Control.
This is Apollo Control at 129 hours, 13 minutes. Apollo 11 is now 36 minutes, 40 seconds from coming around the other side of the moon for reacquisition on the 28th revolution. We're nearing the end of the 27th revolution at this time. On the backside of the moon, Armstrong and Aldrin should be involved in preparing for transferring back to the command module with Mike Collins. They'll be cleaning up equipment and vacuuming off any particles of dust that remain before transferring to the command module. About 15 minutes after we reacquire, we would expect Neil Armstrong to be ready for the transfer to the command module. Buzz Aldrin to follow along behind about 30 or 40 minutes later. Here in Mission Control, we're presently completing the shift change. Flight Director Gene Kranz is replacing Glenn Lenny, and the capsule communicator on this shift will be astronaut Charlie Duke. The change of shift briefing is scheduled to occur in the news center at 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 129 hours, 14 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 130 hours, 16 minutes. We reacquired Apollo 11 about 25 minutes ago at 129:51. At that time, Mike Collins reported that all 3 crewmen were in the command module. The transfer occurring while the spacecraft were on the backside of the moon. They had closed out the LEM early and had transferred to the secondary coolant loop a decision was made in mission control. Because the secondary loop was on, the primary loop disabled in the closeout process. We did not want to have the LEM docked to the CSM for an undue length of time because the primary guidance system is not cooled. The decision was initially made to jettison the LEM at 130 hours, 30 minutes. However, the crew continued ahead of schedule. They were ready to jettison ahead of that time. And Collins reported at 1:30:10, about 17 minutes ago, that they had jettisoned the LEM, and he said it had departed at several feet per second. And we heard a comment from Buzz Aldrin that he noticed some cracks in the thermal covering around the LEM tunnel docking area. However, he said it did not appear to be a structural crack, but merely some cracks in the thermal covering. We're currently scheduled to perform the small reaction control system maneuver with the command and service module for separation from the LEM at 130 hours, 30 minutes, or about 12 minutes from now. We'll pick up this pass as it began on tape, and when we've caught up, we'll continue to follow the activities live.
Hello, Eagle. Houston, do you read? Over. Houston, this is Columbia. Reading you loud and clear. We're all three back inside. The hatch is installed. We're running a pressure integrity check. Everything is going well. Roger, Eagle. Correction, Roger, Columbia. We copy. You guys are speedy. You beat us to the punch here. We had a couple of things for you. What are they? Oh, it was just, we wanted you to close the CO2 sensor breaker and give us an RCS onboard readout out of Eagle, but that's all. Columbia, Houston, we got a state vector for you. If you give us poo and accept, over. Buzz says the CO2 sensor circuit breaker is in. All right, thank you very much. The RCS quantity was approximately 60 in A and 45% in B. Roger. And we're going poo and accept. Roger, thank you. Columbia, Houston, your friendly white team's going to be on till we get you on the way home, and we'd like to congratulate everybody on a successful rendezvous and a beautiful EVA. It was a great show for everybody, over. Thank you, sir. I'll tell them about it. Houston, the hatch passes its integrity check. I'm going to go to LEM tunnel viz now and leave it there. Roger, Columbia, we copy. That's good. And we'd like a readout on the GET of about the time you that Eagle selected the secondary loop, over. Stand by. Hello, Columbia, Houston. We got the load in. You can do the Verb 66 and the computer's yours, over. Roger. Houston, Apollo 11. I'd say that the secondary loop was situated about 15 to 20 minutes ago, over. Roger, copy, Columbia. Thank you very much. Columbia, Houston, it looks like you guys are so speedy on us that we're thinking about moving up jettison time to about a GET of 130 plus 30, if that's okay with y'all, over. Yeah, that's fine. I've still got to get a P30 pad from you. Raj, we want to talk to you about that. Mike, we can, for your druthers, we can do it either way. We can either let you do it in the jettison in P30, P47, or we can send you a P30 target load up, and then you let you call P41, whichever you want to do, over. Yeah, I see Ryan was going to If you'll give us poo and accept, we'll send you a load up. Stand by. Columbia, Houston, we'd like you to terminate direct O2 flow and stand by on your poo and accept. We'll have to generate a new load due to the move up on time, over. Roger.
Go.
Columbia, Houston, over. Go ahead. Roger, Mike. It looks like if we move up this jettison time and give you a new load, it would require a new attitude, and we can't do that due to the limb already closed out. It would fight us all the way around, and we'd lose comm with it. We're thinking about separating in P47 in about 10 minutes. We're looking at trajectories, and we'll be back with you momentarily, over.
Okay, it's no big thing with me either way.
Roger. Hello, Columbia, Houston. We'd like you to start down your jettison checklist. We recommend picking up page F11-12, and we'd like to jettison at 10 minutes. That'll be 130-1445, over.
Right.
Columbia, Houston, if you can't, if that doesn't not satisfactory, let us know, over.
Houston, Columbia, how about a go for logic bus arm?
Stand by. Columbia, Houston, you gotta go.
Thank you.
Columbia, Houston, you can undock at your convenience, jettison at your convenience. We would like you to jettison Eagle and station keep in P47 and station keep, and we'll have another attitude and a maneuver for you such it will be okay for TEI, over.
Roger that. Yeah, I'm standing by to go to P47 as soon as you give me a go for pyro arm.
All right, I thought we gave you that, Mike, your go for power arm and your go for jettison.
Okay. Okay, letting her go in 10 seconds.
Copy, out.
Down 83 reading -4 balls 3, -3 balls 3, and, or correction, both register 1 and register 2 are reading -4 balls 3. Register 3 is zeros. The EMS remained on 100.0. Fairly loud noise, and it appears to be departing, I would guess, several feet per second.
Roger. Can you try to station keep with it, Mike? Just stand by now.
Will do.
Columbia, Houston, don't try to chase it. Just hold what you got.
Charlie, did all cap pressure this time?
Say again, Buzz, over.
Okay, I thrusted back toward it a little bit, Charlie, and I'm now reading net 83 plus 4 balls 4 minus 4 balls 8, and you want me to kill average D, right?
Stand by. That's affirmative. You can exit P47.
There she goes. It was a good one.
Roger, Dodger. We got Eagle looking good. It's holding cabin pressure, and it picked up about 2 feet per second from that jettison.
I believe that. I can see some cracks in outer coating around the tunnel. In the thermal protective covering. I don't think it has anything to do with structure.
Roger. Hello, Columbia, Houston. We'll have a attitude and a little blip burn for you at about 130.30 so we can separate from Eagle, over.
That's fine.
Columbia, Houston, would you start a maneuver to a about pitch of 230 for this little tweak burn, over?
Roger, pitch 230.
Roger, Mike, and verify track mode in auto for the high gain.
Yeah, we're in react, is that all right?
Say again? We need auto.
Say again, we're in react, auto react.
Roger, we need auto, please, sir.
There you got it. Roll 0, pitch 320, yaw 0.
Right now, that's what we're looking at. Stand by. We might have you roll so we can keep the high gain. Stand by.
Roger.
Columbia, Houston, over.
Go ahead.
Roger, Mike.
11 these days.
Oh, Roger, Apollo 11. We got you going to a posi-grade attitude, and we want you, this burn will be using -X thrusters at about 2 or 3 feet per second, and we got a load for you, and we'll send it up momentarily, over.
Okay.
Apollo 11, Houston, would you give us coup and accept? We have a load for you, over.
You got it.
Roger, Mike. And our pitch attitude's a little wrong here. If you're ready to copy, I'll give you the set pad, over.
Go ahead, ready, copy.
Roger, starting with noun 33, 130, 30, 00, 00, plus 000, 20, plus all zeros, plus all zeros, roll all zeros, pitch 230, yaw 0. Noun 44 is NA, delta VT 0, 0, 0, 20. Burn time 007, delta VC 0, 0, 0, 20. We have the rest of the pad is NA.
Roger, GT, 130 hours, 30 minutes, Delta VX 2.0, roll 0, pitch 230, yaw 0, Delta VT 2.0.
That's affirmative, Apollo 11. And Mike, it's similar to the set burn prior to the right after undocking here. And P41 you should see in register 1, 2, and then you can burn -X till you read 4, over. Apollo 11, Houston, computer's yours. Over.
Roger, Charlie, we switched to MD Delta, and I lost that last transmission. Would you say again, please? The thing I'm wondering about specifically is that earlier you said it would be -X thrusters, and the pad indicate +X. Do you want me to null that to 0, or do you want to add 2 and leave it as a 4?
Roger, Apollo 11. The way we gave it to you and the attitude we're in, it'll be just like the set burn that you had yesterday. You'll see noun 85 will give you +2, and then you just burn -X till you read 4, over.
Understand.
Apollo 11, Houston. We see you in P41 now. It might take you a couple of minutes to integrate these vectors that we gave you,
And if you don't make TIG, it's pretty insensitive. You can just let P41 bring you up the TIG, and when you get 0, you can burn on that. Over.
Okay, burn complete. Residuals plus 3 balls 4-0, plus 4 balls 7, plus 4 balls 2. Delta V counter 102.1. Over.
Copy, Apollo 11. Looks good to us. Over.
Okay. Houston, Apollo 11. How about coming up with a good communications attitude for us to go to between now and the time we maneuver to TEI attitude?
Roger, sir. Stand by. Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, a couple of things for you. Over.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mike, you can maneuver to your preliminary TEI attitude as shown on page 398 of the flight plan. And the high gain angles are good as shown in the flight plan. And we'd like you to dump the wastewater at 131.05 down to 10%. Over.
Okay, I understand. I'm going to go to roll 1.1, pitch 0 or 5, 2.6, and yaw 13.8, and you want a wastewater dump to 10% starting at 131.05.
That's affirmative, right out to LOS.
Maneuvers in progress, Houston.
Copy, 11 out. Apollo 11, Houston, over.
This is Apollo Control at 130 hours 46 minutes. That command module separation maneuver, which occurred at 130 hours 30 minutes, was a 2 foot per second retrograde burn. Burn duration was 7 seconds. The flight dynamics officer reports that at trans-earth injection, which is scheduled to occur as per the flight plan at about 135 hours 25 minutes, and at that time the CSM will be about 20 miles ahead of the LEM and about 1 mile below.
Apollo 11 on the high gain, how you read?
5 by 11, how many over?
You're loud and clear, Charlie. What numbers you looking at for TEI TIG preliminary? 135 hours, 23 minutes, something like that?
That's affirmative, Mike. We're looking at about nominal time. We considered it kicking it up a rev, but we don't think this rev tracking is going to be any good since we had the RCS burn, and so we need some more tracking to get you a good TEI. Over.
That's what we're looking for.
All right, sir. No, 11, Houston, looks like it'll be a pretty relaxed time here for the next couple hours. We'll have you pad, of course, next rev or so, and we'll keep you posted on TEI. Looks like nominal time. Over.
Thanks, sir.
And your little maneuver back there a moment ago will put you about 20 miles ahead of the LEM at TEI.
Imagine the place is cleared out a little bit after that rendezvous. You can find a place to sit down almost, huh?
Raj, our moker's about empty right now. We're taking it a little easy. How's it feel up there to have some company?
Damn good, I'll tell you.
I bet you always be talking to yourself up there after 10 revs or so.
No, it's a happy home up here. It'd be nice to have some company. Matter of fact, it'd be nice to have a couple 100 million Americans up here.
Right, well, they were with you in
Just to
spirit.
see what they're getting for their money.
Right, they were with you in spirit anyway, at least that many. We heard on the news today, 11, that last night yesterday after you made your landing, the New York Times came out with a headlines, the largest headlines they've ever used in the history of the newspaper.
Same as a copy. I'm glad to hear it was fit to print.
It was great.
That's why we didn't read you up any newscast today. There really wasn't anything to talk about.
Hello there, boss.
Apollo 11, Houston, we got 10 minutes to LOS. See you over the hill at 1:31:48, over.
Okay, Charlie, I'll dump the water as soon as we go around the corner.
Right, everything's looking real good now.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, Apollo 11, Houston, coming up to about 4:30 LOS. You're looking great on all your systems. Eagle spurring right along on after an hour 30 on without any cooling. The things is still looking good, over.
Roger.
Apollo 11, Houston, would you verify that your rendezvous radar transponder is off, over?
It's not, but I'll get it off.
Right, we were seeing some, believe it or not, we were seeing some funnies in the Eagle's rendezvous radar, and that was the only theory we had. It looked like it was a good one.
Good theory.
This is Apollo Control. We've had loss of signal now. At the present time, we show Apollo 11 in an orbit with a high point of 62.6 nautical miles and a low point, or pericynthion, of 54.9. The spacecraft is traveling at a speed of 5,355 feet per second. We'll reacquire the spacecraft in a little over 45 minutes on the 21st revolution. At 131 hours, 3 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 131 hours, 48 minutes. We're standing by to reacquire Apollo 11. Acquisition should come in about 5 seconds. This revolution should be relatively quiet. We don't have a great deal of activity scheduled. The crew may have time here to get something to eat. And here on the ground, we'll be computing the information needed for their trans-Earth injection burn. We do have data now from the spacecraft. We'll stand by for a call to the crew.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston, we're standing by. Everything is looking great here, over.
Apollo 11, roger.
This is Apollo Control. We suspect that the crew are having something to eat at this time, which probably accounts for the relatively quiet period. One of the things that we're watching with interest here in Mission Control is the lunar module. At the time Aldrin and Armstrong left the LEM and came back into the command and service module, they switched over to the secondary coolant loop as part of a test that we were running to determine just how long the primary guidance and navigation system will last without cooling. The primary guidance system is not cooled on the secondary loop, which provides backup cooling for the secondary guidance system. And it's always been a point of interest just how long the primary guidance system will survive without the cooling. Estimates range up to several hours. The LEM Telcom controller reports that this time we are seeing some rise in the PIPAs. These are the pulse integrating pendulous accelerometers, which the primary guidance system uses to detect changes in motion and attitude. And of course, they are an essential item in the primary guidance system. We are seeing a gradual rise in temperature, but the Telcom engineer reports that the primary guidance system still looks very good. At the time the crew reported they were back, that Armstrong and Aldrin reported they were back in the command module, we asked them at what time they had switched over to the secondary loop. Armstrong estimated that that occurred about 129 hours, 40 minutes, which was a little over 2 hours ago. We will continue to monitor the LEM and to observe the performance of the primary guidance system. All systems on the command and service module continue to function very well at this time, and the same can be said for the lunar module. At the present time, we show Apollo 11 in an orbit 62.5 nautical miles by 54.2, a spacecraft traveling at a speed of 5,349 feet per second. This is Apollo Control at 132 hours, 15 minutes. We have some preliminary figures on the trans-Earth injection maneuver, scheduled to occur about 3 hours, 8 minutes from now. The time of ignition is stand by just a moment. The time of ignition would be 135 hours, 23 minutes, 41 seconds.
Here we can read up, over.
You're pleased to have it.
Right, Neil. Starting off, congratulatory messages on the Apollo 11 mission have been pouring into the White House from world leaders in a steady stream all day. Among the latest are telegrams from Prime Minister Harold Wilson of Great Britain and the King of Belgium. The world's press has been dominated by news of Apollo 11. Some newsmen estimate that more than 60% of the news used in papers across the country today concern your mission. The New York Times, which we mentioned before, has had such a demand for its edition of the paper today, even though it ran 950,000 copies, that it will reprint the whole thing on Thursday as a souvenir edition. And Premier Alexei Kosygin has sent congratulations to you and President Nixon through former Vice President Humphrey, who is visiting Russia. The cosmonauts have also issued a statement of congratulations. Humphrey quoted Kosygin as saying, "I want you to tell the President and the American people that the Soviet Union desires to work with the United States in the cause of peace." And Mrs. Robert Goddard said today that her husband would have been so happy. He wouldn't have shouted or anything, he would just have glowed. She added that was his dream, sending a rocket to the moon. people around the world have had many reasons to be happy about the Apollo 11 mission. The Italian police reported that Sunday night was the most crime-free night of the year. And in London, a boy who had the fate to bet $5 with a bookie that a man would reach the moon before 1970 collected $24,000. Pretty good odds. You're probably interested in the comments your wives have made. Neil Jan said about yesterday's activities, the evening was unbelievably perfect. It is an honor and a privilege to share with my husband, the crew, the Manned Spacecraft Center, the American public, and all mankind, the magnificent experience of the beginning of lunar exploration. She was then asked if she considered the moon landing the greatest moment in her life. She said no, that was the day we were married. And Mike Pat said simply, it was fantastically marvelous. Buzz Jones said, apparently couldn't quite believe the EVA on the moon. She said, it was hard to think it was real until the men actually moved. After the moon touchdown, I wept because I was so happy. But she added, the best part of the mission will be the splashdown. In other news, and there was a little bit, another explorer, Thor Heyerdahl, had to give up his attempt to sail a papyrus boat across the Atlantic. The storm-damaged boat was abandoned about 650 miles from Bermuda. The speed of the craft had been reduced to about 25 miles a day, and Heyerdahl said the object of the voyage had not been to provide an endurance test for the crew. Looking at the world of sports, let's see here. While you were busy the other day, Joe Namath and football Commissioner Pete Rozelle made the announcement that Broadway Joe had agreed to sell his interest in the Bachelor's 3 restaurant and report to the New York Jets. And Joe arrived at the Jets training camp today and had his first workout. And several other Jet players who had held out along with Joe also reported. And Davey Hill from Jackson, Michigan, won his third major golf in his many starts in the past week. He won the Philadelphia Classic. Hill has won 4 tournaments so far this year and is the leading money winner with a cool 129 thou. And in baseball, the West Division of the National League remains a tight race. LA and San Francisco are one game behind league-leading Atlanta. And the Astros have a record of 48 wins and 48 losses, and are now in 5th place, 7 games out. A twin bill between the Astros and Cincinnati last night were postponed because of rain. The Chicago Cubs are still in first place in the East Division. They led the New York Mets by 4.5 games. And in the American League, Baltimore is breezing toward the Eastern Division title. They lead second place Boston by 11 games. Looking ahead, the All-Star baseball game is scheduled for tomorrow. And President Nixon was scheduled to see the game and then leave immediately after the game for the Pacific Splashdown area before going on his tour of Europe. And that about covers the news this day. You guys have been making most of it, and I'm sure we couldn't fill you in on any of the details that you don't already know. Al? You're welcome. 11, Houston, we got a preliminary TEI 30 pad if you're ready to copy.
Ready to copy.
Right, coming at you. TEI 30. SPS GNN 36691 minus 061 plus 067 135 23 41 49er 981 plus 32020 plus 06713 minus 02773 181 054 013 944 HA is NA plus 00230 32833. 228 Delta VC. 32625. 24 1510 355. Next three lines are NA, noun 61, plus 1103, minus 17237, 11806, 36275, 195 0452. Your set stars are Denham and Vega, 242 172 012. We like 2 jet ullage for 16 seconds. And the horizon will be on the 11-degree mark at TIG minus 2 minutes. And in the other comments, your sextant star is visible after GET of 13450. Ready for your readback, over.
Roger, we have a TI-30 SPS GNN 366901, minus 061, plus 067, 135234149er, plus 32020, plus 06713, minus 02773, 181054013, NA, plus 00230, plus 32833, 228, 32625, 24, 1510, 355, NA 3 times, plus 1103, minus 17237, 11806, 36275, 195, 0452, Deneb and Vega, 242 172 012, 2 jet ullage, 16 seconds. Horizon 11-degree line at TIG minus 2 minutes. Sextant star visible after 13450. Over.
Roger, Mike. Good readback. Out.
This is Apollo Control at 132 hours, 29 minutes. That last string of numbers read up to the spacecraft included the information the crew will need to start them on their way back to Earth in about 2 hours, 54 minutes. The time of ignition for the trans-Earth injection burn again is 135 hours, 23 minutes, 42 seconds. They will burn their 20,500-pound thrust service propulsion system engine for 2 minutes, 28 seconds, increasing their speed by 3,283 feet per second. And our preliminary estimate is that that will put them into the Pacific Ocean at the primary landing site at 195 hours, 18 minutes, 47 seconds ground elapsed time, or almost precisely on the flight plan. The spacecraft weight at the time they do the trans-Earth injection burn will be 36,691 pounds. We'll continue to stand by for any communication from the spacecraft. We now have about 29 minutes, 30 seconds until the Apollo 11 goes around the corner and behind the moon out of radio contact.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston, 7 minutes to LOS. Next AOS 13346. You're looking good, going over the hill. Out.
This is Apollo Control. We're now about 30 seconds from loss of signal with Apollo 11 on the 29th revolution. We'll be reacquiring in about 46 minutes as the spacecraft comes around on its 30th revolution, and that will be the next to the last full revolution in lunar orbit. The trans-Earth injection maneuver will be performed at the end of the 30th revolution, just after beginning the 31st revolution of the Moon. Apollo 11 is now in an orbit with a high point of 62.6 nautical miles and a low point of 54.2. The current spacecraft velocity is 5,356 feet per second. And we show an orbital weight of 36,691 pounds. We have loss of signal now. We'll be coming back up when we reacquire in about 45 minutes. At 133 hours, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 133 hours, 45 minutes. We're now 50 seconds from reacquiring Apollo 11 on the 30th revolution of the Moon. This will be our last front side pass before trans-Earth injection. On this revolution, we'll be passing up to the crew the final computations for their trans-Earth injection maneuver, which is scheduled to occur at 135 hours, 23 minutes, 42 seconds, or about 1 hour, 38 minutes from now. We should have acquisition of signal now in about 10 seconds. We'll stand by. We've acquired the signal from the spacecraft. We're standing by at this time for a call from the crew, or for Capcom Charlie Duke to put in a call to the crew from the ground. We presently show the lunar module in an orbit 63.3 by 56 nautical miles. The command and service module is in an orbit 63.2 by 53.9. At the time of the trans-Earth injection burn, we expect that the command module will be about 1 mile below the LEM and about 20 miles in front of it.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston, we're standing by. All right, so we'd like you sometime at your convenience to stir up the cryos on this pass, and wondering if you got the fuel cell purge, over.
Roger, fuel cell purge.
Say again, you're breaking up.
Roger, the O2 fuel cell purge is complete.
Raj, copy. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. We got a load for you if you give us PU and accept. The load consists of a CSM pre-TEI state vector. It's going in the CSM slots, and a post-TEI state vector. It'll go into the LEM slots, if that's okay, and also a TEI target load. Any comments, over?
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Move and accept. You got it.
Thank you. And 11 Houston, a reminder, you can scratch the verb 66 at 134.30.
Understand.
And 11 Houston, for your information, Eagle, we had an ISS fail light came on at about 3:19 due to an CDU overheating, and at about this time at AOS, it looks like we're about to lose the platform.
This is Apollo Control. At this time, the crew should be involved in their pre-trans-Earth injection status checks. They'll also be aligning the platform on their spacecraft guidance system, and we'll be passing up the final information for the trans-Earth injection burn computed on the ground. A few minutes ago, you heard Charlie Duke advise the crew that we show the LEM platform is about to go. We'd mentioned that prior to leaving the lunar module, the crew had deactivated the primary coolant loop, placing the secondary coolant loop in operation aboard the LEM. This means that the primary guidance system does not get cooling. This is part of a pre-planned test to find out just how long the primary guidance system would continue to function without cooling. We had predicted in advance that it would possibly not last much longer than an hour or so. But at the time Charlie Duke reported the platform had just gone down on the LEM, it had been in operation without cooling a little more than 4 hours. And we had an approximate time from the crew of transferring to the secondary coolant loop of about 129 hours, 40 minutes. And we got the report from Duke that the LEM guidance platform was no longer usable at 133 hours, 55 minutes. We'll continue to stand by for any further conversation from the crew. We're now 1 hour, 24 minutes, 10 seconds away from trans-Earth injection, which will occur on the backside of the moon at the beginning of the 31st revolution.
Apollo 11 Houston, we got the load in. You can have the computer.
11, you through the computer?
That's affirmative, Buzz.
Right. That's timing for you.
And Apollo 11 Houston, your friendly white team has your coming home information if you're ready to copy, over.
Apollo 11, ready to copy.
Roger 11. Got two pads for you, TEI 30 and then a TEI 31. TEI 30, SPS GNN 366901 minus 061 plus 066 135 23 4156. Noun 81. 32, correction, plus 32011 plus 06818 minus 02650 181 054 014. Apogee is NA. Perigee plus 00230. 3286, correction, 32836. Burn time, 228. 32628. 24. 1511. 357. Next three lines are NA. Noun 61 plus 1103 minus 17237 11806 36275 195 0452. Set stars are Deneb and Vega. 242 172 012. We'd like ullage of 2 jets for 16 seconds. And the horizon is on the 10-degree line at TIG minus 2 minutes. And your sextant star is visible after 134 plus 50. Stand by on your read back. I have a TEI 31 if you're ready to copy, over.
Roger, TEI 30. SBS GNN. 36691. Minus 061. Plus 066. 135. 23. 4156. Plus 32011. Plus 06818. Minus 02650. 181. 054. 014. FCNA. Plus 00230. 32836. 228. 32628. 24. 1511. 357. NA is done. Plus 1103. Minus 17237. 11806. 36275. 195 0452. Deneb Vegas 42 172 012. 2 jet ullage, second. Horizon, out of the window, 10 degrees. TIG minus 2 minutes. Sextant star at 1410. Over.
Roger, Buzz. Good read back. You're very weak. If you're ready to copy, I got a TEI 31 for you, over.
All right, go ahead.
Apollo 11, Houston, you were cut out. Say again.
Roger, stand by 1.
Roger.
All right, go ahead. I'm ready to copy.
Roger 11, TEI 31. SPS GNN 36691 minus 061 plus 066 137 22 39er 85 plus 32 838 plus 06845 minus 02487. NA, pitch 052. Rest of the pad is NA. Ready for your read back, over.
Roger, TEI 31, SPS GNN 36691 minus 061 plus 066 137 22 39er 85 plus 32838 plus 06845 minus 02487. NA 6052. The rest is NA. Over.
Roger, good read back. And Buzz, did you say sextant star visible after 13450?
No, I wrote down 13410. I wasn't real sure about that.
Roger, it went by me there. Retro coded. It's 13450. Over.
Okay, 13450. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is Apollo Control at 134 hours 10 minutes. We have about 47 minutes 30 seconds before losing contact with Apollo 11 as it goes behind the moon in preparation for the trans-Earth injection burn. With the burn, we would reacquire the spacecraft at 135 hours 34 minutes 11 seconds. Without the trans-Earth injection burn on the upcoming revolution, we would reacquire at 135 hours 43 minutes 50 seconds. The final figures on that burn, as passed up to the crew a few minutes ago, are as follows. Ignition will occur at 135 hours 23 minutes 42 seconds. The burn duration will be 2 minutes 28 seconds. That will add 3,284 feet per second to the spacecraft velocity, starting it on its path back to Earth. And we would consume about 10,000 pounds of propellant with that burn. A splash would occur, according to our preliminary figures, just about precisely as predicted in the flight plan. And we'll continue to monitor now for any further conversation from the spacecraft.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. After the burn, we'd like you to trim X and Z. Over.
Okay, John.
Roger, and that's to 0.2 of a foot per second as shown in the flight plan.
Sounds like there's a story behind that one, too.
We'll tell you when you get back. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. Would you verify that you've stirred up the crowds? Over.
Roger, we stirred him up.
Thank you, sir.
This is Apollo Control at 134 hours 32 minutes. Flight Director Gene Kranz just requested his flight controllers to review all of their data, take a good look at the spacecraft, and be prepared to make go, no-go recommendations shortly for the trans-Earth injection burn. That maneuver now 51 minutes 27 seconds away. All systems on the spacecraft looking good at this point. The cabin temperature had been running about 72 degrees. At this time, the crew is aligning the platform on their guidance system, the stable platform used as an attitude reference for the upcoming burn. We've had very little conversation, both here in the control center and from the spacecraft on this pass. We'll continue to stand by and monitor.
Apollo 11, Houston, you're a go for TEI. Over.
This is Apollo Control at 134 hours, 48 minutes. It continues very quiet here in Mission Control. The flight controllers have been observing the crew inputs to their computer, monitoring as the crew prepares for the trans-Earth injection burn, scheduled to occur at about 35 minutes from now. We have now 9 minutes, 20 seconds until loss of signal. The spacecraft currently traveling at a speed of 5,329 feet per second, and the altitude is 62.5 nautical miles. At the time of the trans-Earth injection burn, the lunar module, Eagle, should be about 20 miles behind the command module.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, you got about 8 minutes till LOS. Your AOS with the burn, 135-3405. No burn, 135-44. Over.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The crew has a go for the trans-Earth injection at the beginning of the 31st revolution, and all systems on the spacecraft are looking very good at this point. You heard Capcom Charlie Duke advise Mike Collins that we'll reacquire the spacecraft on the other side of the moon with the burn at a ground elapsed time of 135 hours, 34 minutes, and 5 seconds. Without the burn, we would reacquire at 135 hours, 44 minutes, 3 seconds. We now have 6 minutes, 50 seconds until loss of signal. We'll continue to monitor.
Apollo 11, Houston, 1 minute to LOS. Go sick 'em.
Thank you, sir. We'll do it.
"30 seconds now until loss of signal. We've had a last status check from the flight director, and all around the room the word is go. We're now 26 minutes, 23 seconds from the trans-Earth injection maneuver, 20 minutes until loss of signal. And we have loss of signal now. We should next reacquire Apollo 11 at 135 hours, 34 minutes, 5 seconds. And we're now 25 minutes, 38 seconds from trans-Earth injection. This is Apollo Control. We're now less than 30 seconds from the time at which trans-Earth injection is scheduled, the burn to start Apollo 11 on its trajectory back to Earth. We're now 15 seconds from the scheduled ignition time. That burn will last about 2 minutes, 28 seconds and consume 10,000 pounds of propellant. The crew should be burning at this time. Of course, that maneuver is performed on the backside of the moon. We have no data from the spacecraft here in mission control at this time. We won't know how the burn went for about another 10 minutes, which is the time at which we're scheduled to reacquire Apollo 11. During the course of this burn, the spacecraft will increase its speed by about 3,280 feet per second, or about 2,240 miles per hour.
Contact Houston, contact net 1.
Honeysuckle. Guam.
Roger, stand by for a keying check. Houston, contact testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Test out.
Houston, contact Honeysuckle, net 1.
Go ahead.
100% on keying.
Roger.
This is Guam contact, 100% keying, good modulation. How would you like the Volgas configured?
Honeysuckle and Guam, we will have the Volgas in the CSM downlink.
Honeysuckle, Wilco. Guam, roger.
Honeysuckle and Guam, this is Houston, contact your go.
Honeysuckle, roger. Guam, roger.
Trans-Earth injection should be completed in about 10 seconds from now. And we should have shut down at this time. At this point, Apollo 11 should be traveling at a speed of about 8,660 feet per second, or about 5,900 miles per hour, and should be on its way back to Earth, headed for a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean at 195 hours, 18 minutes. With a successful burn, we should reacquire Apollo 11 in 7 minutes, 20 seconds from now. This is Apollo Control. We're now less than 1 minute from reacquiring Apollo 11. When last we heard from the spacecraft, all systems were looking very good, and we were in very good shape for the trans-Earth injection maneuver. At this point, Apollo 11 should be about 10,000 pounds lighter and on its way back to Earth. We're now 32 seconds from reacquiring. We'll stand by for communications with the spacecraft.
AOS.
And there's the cue. We have acquisition of signal. we have data right on schedule.
Roger. 0 minus 0.7 minus 0.2.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. How did it go? Over.
Help to open up the LRL doors, Charlie.
Roger. We got you coming home. It's well stocked.
Okay, burn status. Delta Pig was 0. Burn time was 2 plus 30. Pad angle, Delta ATX after trim was 0.1, VGY 0.9, VGZ 0.1, Delta VC minus 17.9er, fuel 10.6, aux 10.4, unbalanced minus 50.
Roger, copy, Neil. Sounds good to us. And Apollo 11, Houston, all your systems look real good to us. We'll keep you posted.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. Boy, looking good here. That was a beautiful burn. They don't come any finer.
Roger. Apollo 11, Houston, wondered if you compared your your state vector after TEI with the one in the limb slots. Over.
Yes, sir. That looked very nice. Verb 83 was plus 00070 and minus 00008.
Roger. Houston, looking at your bank Bravo nitrogen tank, it didn't leak a bit. Correction, didn't leak a bit this time. Over.
Roger, look good here. Chamber pressure was hanging in there around 100. The latter part of the burn, it started oscillating a little bit and got down a little bit below 100.
Roger.
96 or so.
Roger.
Most of the conversation so far has been from Neil Armstrong and Mike Collins. That last comment came from Collins. Our first report after acquisition was from Neil Armstrong. That trans-Earth injection burn was very close to nominal. At this time, we show the spacecraft traveling at a speed of 7,000 603 feet per second, the velocity already beginning to drop off. And we're at an altitude of 445 nautical miles now from the moon. This is Apollo Control. We now show the spacecraft traveling at 7,378 feet per second, altitude 568 nautical miles. The next order of business will be to get the crew to sleep. Flight Director Gene Kranz requested his flight controllers prior to acquisition of signal to review their procedures and to take as many steps as possible to get the crew to sleep as soon as possible. There will be a press conference in the Building 1 auditorium, and we estimate the time on that at about 12:30 Central Daylight Time. And our LEM telecommunications engineer reports that we've just had acquisition of signal from Eagle, which is still in lunar orbit. The last fix that we had on Eagle's orbit showed an apogee of 64.1 and a apocynthion rather of 64.1 and a paracynthion of 54.4 nautical miles. The spacecraft altitude is now climbed to almost 700 nautical miles from the moon. We show a weight of 26,510 pounds, about 10,000 pounds less than what we had, actually about 1,100 or 11,000 pounds. Let's correct that, about 10,100 pounds less than what we had prior to the trans-Earth injection burn.
Apollo 11, Houston, would you give us fluid accept? We got a rest mat for you, over.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston, we got the load in. You can go back to block, over.
We're there.
Right.
North Command Module film seems to be working out pretty well, Charlie. The amount we carried looks like we carried just about what we needed.
Wonderful.
We have one 16-millimeter roll of the ASA 1000 color interior film. We were thinking of shooting that during entry out window number 4 on a bracket, and you might get the camera guy sometime in the next couple of days to give us all the good settings for that.
Roger.
This is Apollo Control. The flight dynamics officer reports that the burn was very nominal, almost precisely as planned. The burn duration was about 3 seconds long, but the Velocity change was almost precisely what we had been expecting. At the present time, Apollo 11 is 1,076 nautical miles from the moon. The velocity continuing to drop off down now to 6,698 feet per second. This is Apollo control at 136 hours, 44 minutes. Apollo 11 is now 3,720 nautical miles from the moon and traveling at a speed of 5,367 feet per second. During the press conference, we accumulated about 4 minutes of taped conversation with the crew. The crew reports at this time that they are completing taking pictures and getting ready to realign their guidance system platform. We'll pick up the tape conversations and then stand by for any following live communications with the crew. We anticipate that they will be shortly beginning their pre-sleep checklist in preparation for a well-deserved rest period.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, I wondered if during the TEI burn you utilized the oxidizer flow valve on the plugs, over.
Yes, we did. Based on your very excellent briefing, I was expecting the thing to continue desiring increase for the whole time, so we started out with it in increase. And I saw that we pretty quickly crossed the line and started falling about 6-7% behind. So I was still expecting it to move up, then I went down to full decrease and brought it back down to a difference of 2%, over.
Right, thank you very much, Buzz.
0.2%, I'm sorry.
Right, thank you. Apollo 11, Houston, you can go to PTC attitude and torque at your and do the P52 and torque at your convenience, over.
Okay, we gotta take some more pictures, Charlie. Is there any constraint thermally on staying here for a while?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead, 11, over.
How's that tracking look, or is it too early to tell?
Stand by, Mike. Apollo 11, Houston. FIDOs are looking at the data. It's too early to tell yet exactly. It's looking real good so far. We'll have you some answers shortly on trajectory, over.
What FIDO is that?
It's Jay Green.
Howdy, Jay.
11, Houston, we have a DAP CSM update for you.
Go ahead.
Roger, CSM weight, Mike, 26370, over.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Apollo 11, Houston, we've taken your onboard vector and propagated it forward, and it's looking real good. We only got about 24 minutes of tracking now. Really too early to tell on the radar, over.
Roger, understand.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. Mike, did you notice any transients at ignition on TEI, over?
Yeah, that transients were more noticeable than on previous burns, Charlie. I just wrote it off to the fact we had a light command module, but there was considerable roll activity, which dampened down after the first 20 seconds, I would guess, of the burn. But there was also some pitch and yaw activity. I don't believe it was abnormal. It seemed to be deadbanding rather crisply in roll, plus or minus about 8 degrees either side of center line. And after the first couple of, after the first 20 seconds or so, the gimbals were quiet and pitch and yaw were relatively quiet. Before that there was some oscillation, but mostly just in rates. Total attitude hung in there pretty well.
Roger, thank you much. We were looking at the playback and we saw some things that right at startup. We'll be back with you later on that.
Okay.
Apollo 11, Houston, have you finished taking pictures over?
We're just finishing up, Charlie.
Roger.
But get started on a B-52 here pretty soon.
Copy.
Another 8 or 9 hours.
This is Apollo Control. That brings us up to date with the taped conversation. We'll stand by for any further live communication from the crew before they begin their sleep period. We've gotten some preliminary figures from the flight dynamics officer on that trans-earth injection burn after a review of the telemetry data. And it shows that our change in velocity was nominal, 3,283.5 feet per second. We also show a nominal burn time of 2 minutes, 28 seconds. The crew reported the burn time about 2 to 3 seconds long. Based on their onboard data, the ground data shows the burn to have been just about nominal. Based on the preliminary tracking, it would appear that the splashdown would occur almost precisely as predicted or planned in the flight plan. That would be at 195 hours, 18 minutes, 40 seconds ground elapsed time. And we would expect that splashdown time to change somewhat during the trans-Earth coast. Particularly as the need or lack of need for mid-course corrections becomes more apparent with additional tracking. At this time, Apollo 11 is 4,086 nautical miles from the moon and traveling at almost precisely 1 mile per second, 5,283 feet per second, and that's just updated to 5,280 feet per second.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, you can crank up on the PTC at any time, over.
All right, go.
Apollo 11, Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Raj 11, this is the regional Capcom. Congratulations on an outstanding job. You guys have really put on a great show up there. I think it's about time you power down and got a little rest, however. You've had a mighty long day here. Hope you're all going to get a good sleep on the way back. I look forward to seeing when you get back here. Don't fraternize with any of those bugs en route, except for the hornet.
Okay. Thank you, boss. We're looking forward to a little rest and a restful trip back and see when we get there.
Right, you've earned it.
That exchange was between Donald K. Deeks Layton, Director of Flight Crew Operations at the Manned Spacecraft Center, and astronaut Neil Armstrong.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. We'd like you to turn off O2 tank number 1 heaters, over.
It's off, thank you.
Roger. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. For your information, the LGC and Eagle just went belly up after 7 hours, over.
Oh, okay, very good. This was death of a real winner, sir. Charlie, we're going to rotate about pitch 270 degrees on the way home, vice 1 or 090 on the way out, right?
Right, sir.
Okay, Ver 49 maneuver to that attitude is in progress.
Roger.
Your status report, radiation CBR 11017, CMP 10019, LFP 09020, no medication.
Say again, please, Neil. You were breaking up. We missed that, over.
Okay, this is crew status report, radiation CDR 11017, CMP 10019, LFP 09020, no medication.
Roger, thank you. And we didn't get a crew status report from you this morning. Wondered if you could give us an estimate of sleep last night, over.
Ranger. Okay, we'll take a guess at Charlie, and try to give an equivalent amount and call it CPR3 and LFP4.
Right, thank you very much.
Charlie, you want the man cycle to use, right?
That's affirmative, and we'd like you to disable quads Charlie and Delta, over.
Okay, Charlie and Delta.
Apollo 11, Houston, if it's convenient, we'd like to go through your onboard readout, over. flight plan 3102. We'd like BATS and RCS, over.
Ready to copy it?
Roger, go ahead.
Charlie 370, Pyro Bat A 370, Bat B 370, RCS 55, 65, 64, and 62, over.
Roger, we copy all that. Thank you much. Apollo 11, Houston, a couple of questions for the moonwalkers, if you got a second, over.
Go ahead.
Roger, Neil, we're seeing some temperature rises on the passive seismic experiment that are a little higher than normal, and we're wondering if you could verify the deployed position. We understand it's about 40 feet from the limb in the 11 o'clock position, over.
Now it's about in the 9 or 9:30 position, and I'd say it's about 50 or 60 feet.
Roger, copy. Also, did you notice, was any indication of any dust cloud as you lifted off, over?
Not very much. There was quite a bit of kapton and parts of the limb that went out in all directions, usually for great distances, as far as I could tell. But I don't remember seeing anything in the dust cloud to speak of.
Roger, I understand all you could see was parts of the limb going out. What was your first comment, over?
I don't remember. Just you could see kapton and other parts of the limb staging, scattering all around the area for great distances, but I didn't see much dust.
Right, thank you very much.
Houston, Apollo 11, could you keep me honest on the lithium hydroxide changes? When do you have the next one scheduled for?
Stand by. Apollo 11, Houston, Mike on the canister. We had you due to change one at 1:33 before TEI, and it's on page 399. The next one we got is at 1:47, over.
Okay.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. We'd like to extend our damping period for another 5 minutes. Let the rates get way down, over.
11, roger.
This is Apollo Control at 137 hours, 27 minutes. At this time, Apollo 11 is traveling at a speed of about 4,982 feet per second. It is about 5,900 nautical miles from the moon and about 198,900 nautical miles from Earth. A short while ago, you heard Neil Armstrong make a few descriptive comments of the scene on the lunar surface at the time the LEM ascent stage lifted off. Armstrong reported seeing very little dust, but quite a bit of debris from the LEM. He referred to the Kapton, which is a plastic-like insulation material, generally silver or gold in color, which is found on the outside surfaces of the LEM. We also had a report at 136 hours, 54 minutes, about 40 minutes or so ago, that the LEM guidance computer had finally stopped putting out any data, and that was about 7 hours, 13 minutes after the primary guidance system was deprived of the coolant in a test of how long the system would continue to operate without coolant. The platform apparently began to become unusable after about 4 hours, and the computer itself finally gave up after about 7 hours and 13 minutes. Both items going considerably longer than had previously been predicted. The lunar module ascent stage still in lunar orbit. We're continuing to get data from it. All other systems appear to be functioning well at this time. The LEM orbit we show is currently 64.4 nautical miles for height of apocynthion, 54.4 nautical miles for pericynthion. The LEM is in its 23rd revolution. Now here's a call to the crew.
Over.
Roger, Charlie. I'd like to bring you up to date on our chlorination status. In compartment B4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For correction, we have 8 pockets for chlorine and buffer ampules, of which, let me correct that. We have 7 pockets, which one is empty and always has been empty, leaving 6 remaining. And the other side over there in B7, we have another container with 7 pockets. So we have a total of 7 plus 6. And those are filled with 6 chlorines and 7 buffers. Now I've been using 1 chlorine and 1 buffer per day, which at this point in time, prior to this chlorination I'm about to do, leaves me 1 chlorine and 2 buffers. Seems to me I'm 1 chlorine short, and that being the case, I'd like to ask your advice on postponing this chlorination using the last container until some later date, like maybe tomorrow. Over.
Roger, we copy, Mike. Stand by.
Okay.
Houston. Check in A1, Mike, and see what you can find in there, over. We think you might have some more chlorine up in A1, over. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. Apollo 11, Houston, do you read? You're breaking up, over. Roger 11, you're breaking up. Mike, please look in compartment A1. We think there might be some more chlorine up there, over. Houston, reading you about 1 by, over. Apollo 11, Houston, we're having a downlink problem. The reason we can't read you, we're switching sites. Stand by. Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. How do you read now, over? Fine. All right, you're 5 by now too, Mike. Thank you much. Did you copy that about A1 on the chlorine?
Eureka!
How about that, sports fans? Apollo 11, Houston, we're having a little trouble getting the yaw rate damped out to appropriate value. We'd like y'all to be quiet like mice for a couple of minutes, and let's see if that'll help it out. Over. 11, Houston, you did great work there. We're ready to spin it up. Over. Houston, did you copy? Over.
Yeah, we read you, Charlie. Would you stand by me?
Roger. No hurry. Houston, shift change time here. White team bids you good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Over.
Night, Charlie. Thank you. Night, Charlie. Thank you. Adios.
Adios. Thanks again for a great show, you guys.
Thanks for a great job down there.
This is Apollo Control at 137 hours 52 minutes. The Apollo 11 crew has signed off for the night, starting a long, well-deserved rest period. Duration of the rest period is programmed for 10 hours. However, the wake-up time is not critical. It's very likely we'll let them sleep till they wake up of their own accord. At this time, Columbia is 7,045 nautical miles away from the moon, headed toward home at a velocity of 4,868 feet per second. This is Apollo Control at 138 hours 2 minutes. Capcom Owen Garriott has just put in a call to the crew and is passing up some antenna information to them. Here's that conversation.
Howdy there, Mike. We're ready to go ahead and have you switch to your Omni position for your sleep period. And we would like the following high gain switch positions. Your high gain antenna in manual, beam width wide, pitch is -50, and yaw is a +270. And just follow the flight plan for remaining comm configuration. Over. your comm is pretty weak at this point, Mike. Please say again.
Disregard.
This is Apollo Control. 10 minutes ago, we logged what we expect to be our last contact with Eagle in lunar orbit. That coming at 137 hours, 55 minutes elapsed time. At that time, the battery power fell below the level where the secondary guidance system could hold the attitude of the vehicle within the steerable antenna limits. We do not expect to establish contact with Eagle again. We'll continue to stand by here live. There may be a little bit more conversation before the crew turns in for the night.
Apollo 11, Houston, we'd like for you to go ahead and put your S-band antenna Omni to Omni and Omni B, over. Apollo 11, Houston, how do you read me through Honeysuckle now, over?
It runs clear, Owen.
Very good, reading you better now. And did you copy? We'd appreciate going S-band Omni and Omni B at this time, over.
That's the configuration we're in.
Okay, thank you.
I tell you, purple people keep running hours.
This is Apollo Control at 138 hours and 11 minutes. We do not intend to contact the crew during this rest period again. We'll take this line down now and come back up if there is further conversation. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 139 hours. Crew of Apollo 11 is in the rest period. We have not contacted them within the last hour and have not heard from them. All systems aboard the spacecraft performing well. Apollo 11 is now 10,149 nautical miles from the moon, approaching the Earth at a velocity of 4,659 feet per second. Spacecraft weight is 26,510 pounds. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 140 hours. Apollo 11 is now 12,835 nautical miles from the moon. Velocity 4,552 feet per second. All systems still performing well. Dr. Kenneth Beers, the flight surgeon, reports his data indicates all three of the crewmen are asleep. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 141 hours. Apollo 11 is 15,488 nautical miles from the moon. Velocity 4,480 feet per second. Crew is still asleep. All systems continuing to perform very well. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 142 hours, 3 minutes. Apollo 11 is 18,243 nautical miles from the moon. Velocity 4,426 feet per second. Apollo 11 is in the passive thermal control mode. Performance of all systems nominal, and the crew is asleep. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 143 hours. Apollo 11 is 20,704 nautical miles from the moon. Velocity 4,390 feet per second. Crew still in a rest period. The Weather Bureau's Spaceflight Meteorology Group reported this morning that weather conditions in the primary landing area are expected to be acceptable. Sky partly cloudy, winds easterly at 10 knots, and seas of 3 feet are predicted. Tropical storm Claudia is now located 2,300 miles east of the landing area and will not affect the weather in the landing area Thursday. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 144 hours. Apollo 11 is 23,289 nautical miles from the moon, approaching the Earth at a velocity of 4,361 feet per second. All systems performing well and the crew still in a rest period. It does not appear likely that we will perform mid-course correction number 5, scheduled for approximately 150.5 hours elapsed time. However, a firm decision on this mid-course will not be made for approximately 3.5 hours. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 145 hours. Apollo 11 is 25,857 nautical miles from the moon, heading toward home at 4,338 feet per second. Apollo 11 will leave the moon's sphere of influence at an elapsed time of 148 hours, 7 minutes, 23 seconds. This is Mission Control, Houston.
This is Apollo Control at 146 hours. We have heard nothing from the crew. We assume they are still asleep. That sleep period began at about 137 hours, 47 minutes. At this time, Apollo 11 is 28,421 nautical miles from the moon and traveling at a speed of 4,322 feet per second. The decision on mid-course correction number 5 is still tending toward not doing that mid-course. However, the decision hasn't been made finally, and there will be some additional tracking prior to firming up that decision. At this point, it appears that the mid-course at the number 5 opportunity would require about 4 to 5 feet per second by waiting until the opportunity at mid-course correction 6. About 7 feet per second would be required. We do not plan to awaken the crew, at least immediately. Let them continue sleeping. All spacecraft systems continue to look very good to us here on the ground. We've completed the change of shift here in Mission Control. Flight Director Clifford Charlesworth has relieved Milton Windler, and our capsule communicator is astronaut Bruce McCandless. At 146 hours, 2 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 147 hours. The flight surgeon reported a short while ago that the crew appeared still to be sleeping. However, we have seen some signs of activity aboard the spacecraft. Suspect they may be waking shortly. At the present time, Apollo 11 is 30,980 nautical miles from the moon. Speed is 4,308 feet per second. The flight plan for today is relatively quiet, and we're continuing to await the crew's own awakening. We don't plan to awaken them from the ground at this time. At 147 hours, 1 minute, this is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 147 hours, 30 minutes. The flight surgeon reported a short while ago that the lunar module pilot Buzz Aldrin appears to be up at this time. Both Armstrong and Collins appear still to be sleeping. At the present time, Apollo 11 is 32,253 nautical miles from the moon and traveling at a speed of 4,303 feet per second. Flight Director Clifford Charlesworth has elected to perform the mid-course correction maneuver scheduled at trans-Earth injection plus 15 hours. That would be at about 150 hours, 25 minutes ground elapsed time. The exact time of that mid-course correction is not critical, and it could move around somewhat. We expect that it would be a velocity change of about 5 feet per second. We expect there will be some conversation with the crew before too much longer. We'll come back up when we hear from the spacecraft. This is Apollo Control at 147 hours, 32 minutes. This is Apollo Control at 147 hours, 39 minutes. The flight surgeon reports that all 3 crewmen now are awake. We expect to be hearing a good morning from the spacecraft before too much longer, so we'll stand by for that. We said good night to the crew last night at about 137 hours, 47 minutes. So they have apparently had a good 10-hour rest period, and we'll probably be getting a crew status report indicating just how much sleep each of the crewmen got. We'll stand by for any conversation with the spacecraft.
Good afternoon, Houston. Apollo 11 up.
Good morning, 11. This is Houston, over.
Okay, crew status report 8.8 and 8.5.
Roger, 8.8 and 8.5. When you're ready, we've got a small flight plan update for you.
Houston, we're ready to copy.
Roger, at about 148 hours, if you have not already done so, a CO2 filter change, and the H2 purge line heater on 20 minutes before the O2 and H2 purge. At 148 hours, we'd like you to initiate a charge on battery alpha instead of at 151 hours, and leave the charge on until we notify you further. At 150 hours GET, wastewater dump to 10%. We do plan to burn mid-course correction 5. It will be an RCS burn, about 5 feet per second, at about the nominal time in the flight plan, over.
Roger, understand. We'll be accomplishing the filter change shortly. The purge line heater is on, and we'll take care of O2 and H2 purge shortly, and at 48 we'll charge on battery A. So you notify us further. 150 hours, wastewater dump to 10%, and we're looking forward to mid-course correction 5 at about 5 feet per second at the nominal time, over.
Roger, I've got your consumables updated. You're ready to copy?
Copy.
Okay, at GET of 147 plus 00, RCS total minus 2.0%, which is about minus 14 pounds. Alpha minus 12.0, Bravo plus 10.0, minus 3.0, minus 2.0. Hydrogen total minus 1.5 pounds. O2 total plus 20 pounds. Over.
Roger, I copy, and our onboard readouts. Alpha, 52%. Bravo, 54%. Delta, 64%. Delta, 61%.
Roger 11, would you read Quad Alpha again, please? Buzz, you're cutting out. It may be, are you operating on Vox? Over.
Negative. Alpha is 53%. Over.
Roger, we copy. 11 from down here on telemetry. All your systems look to be in good shape.
This is Apollo Control at 148 hours, 7 minutes. In about 24 seconds from now, the spacecraft will pass the imaginary line into the Earth's sphere of influence.
Stand by for a mark leaving the lunar sphere of influence. Mark, you're leaving the lunar sphere of influence. Over.
Roger, is Bill Schaffer down there?
Negative, but we've got a highly qualified team on in his stead.
Roger, I wanted to hear him explain it again at the press conference.
Okay.
That's the old Apollo 8 joke, but tell him the spacecraft gave a little jump as he went through the sphere.
Okay, I'll pass it on to him. Thanks a lot. Dave Reed is sort of burying his head in his arms right now.
Roger that.
Those guys down here in the train have been doing a pretty good job this place.
Yes, they have.
And we don't want them to give up yet, though.
No, they'll hang in there for about another 47 hours or so.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 148 hours, 21 minutes. At the time the spacecraft crossed from the Moon's sphere of influence to the Earth's sphere of influence, that point at which the Earth is computed as having the dominant influence on the spacecraft trajectory. Apollo 11 was about 33,800 nautical miles from the Moon and about 174,000 nautical miles from Earth. At the present time, the spacecraft is traveling at a speed of 3,994 feet per second with respect to the Earth. After awakening this morning, Neil Armstrong reported all 3 crewmen getting at least 8 hours of sleep. The commander got about 8 hours. The command module pilot, Mike Collins, about 8 hours. And Armstrong reported that lunar module pilot Buzz Aldrin got about 8.5 hours of sleep.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. If you're not busy now, I can read you up the morning news.
Okay, we're all listening.
Say again, 11?
Roger, we're all listening. Go ahead.
Roger from the hot wires of the Public Affairs Office. Apollo 11 still dominates the news around the world. Only 4 nations, Communist China, North Korea, North Vietnam, and Albania, have not yet informed their citizens of your flight and landing on the moon. One newsman said that he has run out of ways to describe your success. Tonight, President Nixon is scheduled to watch the All-Star baseball game in Washington. After the game, he will depart for the Pacific Recovery Area. Wednesday evening, he will fly from Johnston Island by helicopter to the Navy communications ship Arlington. Then on Thursday morning, he will reboard the helicopter and fly to the Hornet in time to witness your splashdown. Accompanying the President will be Secretary of State William Rogers and Frank Borman. They will watch the splashdown from the bridge of the recovery ship with Admiral John Sidney McCain, Jr., Commander of the Pacific Forces. Following the President's stay aboard the Hornet, he will depart for his tour of Asia and scheduled visit to Romania. Luna 15 is believed to have crashed into the Sea of Crises yesterday after orbiting the moon 52 times. The Soviet news agency TASS reported that, quote, scientific research in near-moon space was carried out, unquote. Sir Bernard Lovell at Jodrell Bank Observatory said that Luna 15 hit the surface of the moon at a speed of about 300 miles per hour. Things have been relatively quiet recently in Vietnam. GIs on patrol were observed carrying transistor radios tuned into your flight. The Armed Forces radio and TV network in Vietnam gave the mission full coverage. Skirmishes still continue between the Egyptians and Israelis along the Suez Canal. UN observers there are trying to halt the action. In Washington, the House Ways and Means Committee has voted to reduce the 27.5% oil depletion allowance to 20%. We've had rain several times here in the Houston area. Today it is cloudy and more showers are expected. On the sports front, as we mentioned earlier, the All-Star game is tonight. There were no games played yesterday. Last night in New York, the Baseball Writers Association of America named Babe Ruth the greatest ball player of all time. Joe DiMaggio was named the greatest living ball player. Frank Borman made the announcement at a dinner honoring the players. Joe Namath put in a full day at the New York Jets training camp. 5 policemen had a hard time restraining about 500 kids who wanted to touch Broadway Joe. He said he feels fine and will play in the All-Star game August 1 if Coach Webb Eubank lets him. The Oilers camp at Kerrville got wet yesterday, but the workouts continued. There have been some minor injuries, but nothing too serious. Coach Wally Lem is satisfied so far with the workouts. The Oilers are expecting attendance by over 30,000 for the preseason game with Buffalo. Apparently, Don Meredith's retirement isn't expected to dampen enthusiasm, especially around here in Houston. Mario Andretti won the 200-mile Trenton Auto Race Sunday and is now the leading race driver in the U.S. Auto Club's point standings. And that's about the summary of the morning news this afternoon in Houston. Over.
Pick up the Dow Jones Industrial Report.
Roger, stand by a minute, please. Apollo 11, this is Houston. We see you in Pooh when you can give us accept. We have a state vector and target load uplink ready for you.
Roger, Houston. Go ahead. You got the computer.
Roger, thank you. Apollo 11, we've completed the uplink. The computer's yours.
Thank you.
Apollo 11, this is Houston, over.
Go ahead.
Roger. With respect to the Dow Jones Industrials, since closing on Tuesday afternoon, the 15th, up to about 1:05 p.m. Houston time this afternoon, why the effect has been a net drop that is minus 6 points on the industrial average. So far today, since opening, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has gone down by 11.05 after rising 1.5 shortly after opening. Today's performance on the utilities is a drop of 1.63 and railroads a drop of 1.58. Over.
Yeah, every flight has to have some disadvantages, I guess.
There's some speculation that you all were responsible for that 1.5 point rise right after opening.
Well, don't blame the 11-point drop on us anyway.
Roger. Apollo 11, this is Houston. If you have a minute or so free, I wonder if we could get Mike to give us a little bit of clarification on what happened around about the time of docking. We copied him as mentioning that contact was very smooth, almost imperceptible, and we're a little bit inquisitive or curious about his remarks as to what happened after probe retraction. Over.
Roger, I docked in CMC Auto, and as I said, I wasn't really sure of the moment of contact. I kept cross-checking the docking probe indicators. I got two barber poles indicating that the three capture latches, or not capture latches, but the three gizmatches had made, and we were soft docked. And at that time, the situation looked very stable. So I went to CMC free, glanced back out the window, it still looked stable, and I fired primary two bottle. And at that time, a gyration began between the two vehicles, due, I'm not sure to what, perhaps the LEM thrusting, or perhaps it was building up prior and I hadn't noticed it. But anyway, during the retract of the probe, there were my yaw excursions of, I would guess, around 15 degrees, and I had to come back on, take the free switch and throw it back to auto and try to damp them out, and I guess Neil was doing the same in the LEM. I'll let you tell him about his side of it. And I thought that we were not going to get a successful retract and hard dock. However, in about, I guess 6 or 8 seconds, I did hear, could see the situation damping out, and then we heard the noise indicating the docking latches had fired, and later on when I got in the tunnel, all 12 of them had properly engaged.
Roger.
And on the left side, we were in ag, pin dead, hold, and at contact, I thrusted plus X, and shortly after that, we had a sizable attitude oscillation and thruster firing, so we opened up the deadband to max and manually flew the vehicle into stable attitude during the retraction. And we went to off during the completion of the retraction.
Roger, thank you very much, John. Apollo 11, this is Houston. I have your mid-course correction 5 pad available when you're ready to copy.
Stand by. Houston, Apollo 11, ready to copy.
11, this is Houston. Mid-course correction number 5. RCS GNN 26025. Pitch and yaw trim NA. TIG 150. 29er 5453. Minus 00048. Plus all balls. Plus 00001. 075 159er 328. HA is NA. HP plus 00230. 00048. 011. 00048. Sexton star 03. 09er 08. 382. Boresight star block, none available. Latitude plus 1102. Minus 17204. 11803. 36275. 1950333. GDC align, Deneb and Vega. 007 144 068. No ullage, of course. 4 quad thrusting. Over. Read back.
Roger. Mid-course number 5, RCS GNN 26025. Pitch and yaw NA 15029er 5453. Minus 00048. Plus all zeros. Plus 00001. 075 159er 328 NA. Plus 00230. 00048. 011. 00048. 03. 09er 08. 382. NA 3 times. Plus 1102. Minus 17204. 11803. 36275. 19er 5. 0333. Deneb and Vega 007 144 068. And 4 quads for the burn. Over.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. Read back correct. Out.
This is Apollo Control at 148 hours, 58 minutes. The series of numbers passed up to the crew a few minutes ago was for mid-course correction number 5. That is scheduled to occur at 150 hours, 29 minutes, 54 seconds. It will be a reaction control system burn using the spacecraft reaction control system thrusters with a velocity change of 4.8 feet per second, and that will be retrograde. Primary purpose of the will be to adjust